Hey everyone, and welcome to the Headliner Podcast. We're your hosts, Nicholas and Elissa, and we're here to keep you in the loop on all the things you can do to promote your podcast. So Elissa, we've got a really relevant and cool topic for today. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so we've kind of talked about this before, but we're talking about YouTube and podcasting. But more specifically, we're talking about how to start and grow your podcast on YouTube, but kind of more looking at like a high effort situation and then like more of a low effort or like a minimalistic, just a little bit easier way to get on YouTube.
A chill way. Let's keep the language positive.
Chill.
Yeah,
Chill.
we're chill. We're
Yeah.
laid back. We let our hair down. It's fine. Okay, so yeah, I mean, obviously, you kind of just said it. There are two ways one can approach doing YouTube. Before we get into that, we should probably say why YouTube, ask the existential question. And, we've talked about this before, and we probably have an episode or two or three where people can go and learn more about this stuff if they need to. But the quick and dirty and the most updated version of the story is that YouTube is the number one place for podcasts, isn't it? And I think we actually just saw a recent stat from Edison Podcast Metrics where they basically were like, oh yeah, YouTube is responsible for like 31% of weekly podcast listeners in America, which is a crazy number. Spotify is at like 27, and the shocker to me is like Apple is at a little paltry 15%. And then obviously there's the big parent company in the room. Maybe you could give us some color on that.
Yeah, so YouTube is owned by Google. So being part of that ecosystem, it actually leverages a bunch of really cool things that kind of live outside of the YouTube platform. So that's going to be, of course, looking more at search. So YouTube is essentially like integrated with Google's algorithm. So when people are searching for stuff on Google, as they do, it's a lot easier for YouTube content to actually be recommended. And it's actually one of more of the kind of top things that gets pushed. So I'm sure you've been in Google and I'm sure you've seen, now they have the whole like Gemini thing. Normally that pops up, but there'll be one or two links and then you'll start some videos pop up and then you'll start to see some more like text-based links. So yeah.
And that makes sense because video, we're a visual species and like a lot of us are visual learners. We need demonstrations, we need explanations, and video gives us kind of everything. It can be text, it can be video, it can be audio, and that makes sense to me. So another stat that kind of just like piggyback off of how prevalent video is in the world is this is from an article from The Wrap. Apparently, of like the top 5 or so podcasts in the world on every platform, etc., only one of them doesn't have a video component, and that's the podcast Smartless. So every other podcast does something pertaining to video. And it just goes to show that like, yeah, video and podcasts, they are increasingly becoming one and the same in 2025. And even Smartless, for the record, I mean, it's a podcast that's hosted by like Jason Bateman and Will Arnett. Like there is still a video component. They are visible actors. Mm-hmm. So,
it just means that they're not sitting. I mean, they're sitting down and they're recording audio. They're not recording video. They still use YouTube, which I do definitely think that's worth like calling out. But yeah, they're not necessarily like how we're in a Zoom call. I mean, I wouldn't imagine they're using Zoom. They're probably in a studio. Some of these YouTubes.
They're using the super exclusive Zoom that's called, Podcast Studio. A room that's treated with soundproofing that isn't just egg cartons, Yeah. True story. You can treat a room for sound with egg cartons. Anyway, so sorry, it just dawned on me that might be more expensive than soundproof foam, given how much eggs cost.
At this point,
yeah,
it's definitely not economic at this point. But I don't know. Maybe Easter you could start.
It looks rustic. It looks
calling
cool.
Your neighbors. Yeah.
But anyway, no, and to wrap up the whole, like, this is why we do YouTube thing, YouTube as a company is becoming more serious about podcasting. I believe it was a year or two ago, they finally added RSS support to YouTube proper. So you can now like hook your RSS feed up to the site for auto posting whenever you upload an episode. And more than that, they recently started rolling out a feature to let creators actually swap out the ad reads in their videos, which is huge. And this is something that like pretty recently some YouTubers have taken to like doing manually, where they like go into old videos and they remove host read ads and replace it with ad breaks. But now YouTube is literally saying, oh, no. If your your brand deal with Casper mattresses or whatever finally ended and you want to do like a BetMGM ad, you could just like swap that in. And yeah, I mean, those are the big whys for YouTube. So I think it's time we start talking about the how. And Elissa, maybe you could tell us how people can get their podcast on YouTube in a really low lift, chill way. The Kokomo route, if you will, if for any Beach Boys fans in the call.
Oh my gosh. The references are always just amazing.
They're always like 30 to 40 years a little too old, but it's okay.
Yeah. So I like the chill approach. I'm going to stick with that. What is it when you name something?
It's when you name it.
I'm thinking taxonomy, but that's not right.
Taxidermy? Is that it?
Anyway, maybe we'll edit that out. Who's to say?
Giving them a rock? I don't know.
Anyways, the naming convention that I'm going to rock and roll with is the chill approach.
Okay.
So looking at it, we called out SmartLess earlier. So I think that's probably one of the best examples out there, just that any podcaster could truly do. Now, granted, it is a podcast hosted by 3 celebrities. So their reach is going to be probably a little bit higher than what the average podcaster is going to expect to see using this approach. But basically what they're doing is they're running audiograms and they're actually using headliners. So that's kind of cool.
Oh, wow. Look at that plug.
just I'll call it out. Why not?
No, sorry. I was talking about the electrical outlet behind my computer.
Whatever. Anyways, so yeah, SmartLess, one of a great example out there, they're using audiograms. So audiograms, it's what Headliner is chiefly known for. It's just literally taking a static image and a moving waveform. And it's a very easy way to get your podcast up onto YouTube. So you're going to be able to leverage all of the really great benefits that specifically video content on YouTube offers. So we did mention the RSS ingestion feature. That is definitely probably the easiest way to get up on YouTube. Now, it does unfortunately have its limitations. It's more widely seen in the YouTube Music app. So it's a little harder to get you out onto search organically. So again, if somebody goes to Google, they start typing, it's a lot harder to get that content to kind of rank just because it is lacking a couple of different elements that like the YouTube metadata that's really going to help you to kind of leverage that search.
Sure.
So Audiograms, super easy way. You can still have all of that metadata, so you can make thumbnails if you want. That's kind of one of the things that YouTube does allow that most other platforms don't. So you'll be able to kind of have a really easy kind of information shot, basically. So you'll see like a smiling person or somebody conveying an emotion with a little bit of text content to just kind of better conceptualize what that video is. So that's typically a thumbnail. I'm sure if you've been on YouTube, you've seen them. Yeah,
no, exactly. And to that end, like your thumbnail and all that stuff, for what it's worth, you can upload a video onto YouTube and mark it as a podcast. Like while you're uploading it, you can go down to a drop down. And if you have a podcast playlist on YouTube, you can literally just say, this audiogram is a part of this playlist, and it will count as a podcast. I think that actually does also send it to YouTube Music.
Yes, it does. So it kind of, definitely whenever you make a podcast on YouTube, having a YouTube channel is great. Excuse me as I hit my straw. Having a YouTube channel is great. It's still getting you out there. But definitely if you're having a podcast specific, you're going to want to create a podcast playlist, which is like so easy. Just literally you can go to, I think if you type in create podcast on YouTube will come up and say, hey, click this button. It's like 2 seconds of work. So easy. And a lot of times you can just copy and paste everything directly from your host into there. So it's really like no new brain power work.
I know for my personal podcast, it's so easy that I think I actually signed my podcast up for a YouTube podcast playlist using the RSS feed. It populated everything. And then I just like went into the settings on YouTube and said, do not mirror my uploads. I will manually update this feed. Mm-hmm. And that was literally it. All of my metadata was there. All of my past episodes, I think, are there. And then I just have to go in and when I have a new episode, just upload it as a video onto YouTube and put it in the playlist. Mm-hmm. So, Can't stress how easy it is. And you mentioned like, hey, there is a benefit to doing things through Headliner, through Make by Headliner, instead of through this like RSS ingestion method. Yeah, I mean, some of those I'm assuming are stuff like our waveforms, these animated lines that move in tandem with the audio. It's a great little visual thing. It it sounds a little silly, but like whenever I run into a video that uses a waveform, I do stop and watch the waveform. You know, like it is engaging on some level to look at that going up and down and being like, oh yeah, this is in tandem with the sound.
It so stupidly reminds me of like you see the like little Microsoft emblem or something on a computer. That's like The Office specifically. That's what it always reminds me of. I'm like, yeah.
It reminds me of sorry, I'm just getting flashbacks to the Office episode when they're like watching the DVD menu bounce off the walls. Yeah, it's basically that. But like, look, jokes aside, this is a thing that has existed. You know, one of our waveforms is literally the old stereo equalizer, where it's like the green, yellow, and red. And that is a thing. People used to like put music on and watch the equalizer bounce.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works. And it does actually perform better. I have a theory than static images on YouTube because it is a form of movement. So, you know, hopefully the algorithm recognizes that on some level. Another huge thing that we offer that's super cool, transcription. I mean, on multiple levels, we can give you a transcript file of your episode, which is great for SEO. You can mirror that onto a blog. You can do what I love to do, which is put it as like the actual captions on the YouTube video for that extra SEO. I think in our last episode, I said I even go the extra mile and I mark like 4 different versions of English using the transcript. And more than that, you can have them burnt into the video, which is another dynamic thing that just makes your episode a bit more special.
And specifically, if if you take it kind of a step further, so it's still kind of chill, but it's not like chill.
We're chill, but like we're getting a little serious without harshing a buzz.
Exactly. You're like a type B plus, not type A, but type B plus. But so you can definitely leverage YouTube Shorts. And weirdly enough, a lot of people that are on their phones specifically, you know, they're not always on their phones when they should be on their phones. So 84% of mobile social videos are actually watched without sound on. So turning on captions, it's really going to help you kind of, you know, increase retention and keep people watching. Especially, I mean, it's great for accessibility, obviously, but even just that kind of engagement and retention factor, having captions both on your short form and your long form video baked into the actual content is really going to kind of help, again, add a level of style, kind of catch people's eye. You can brand it to your show. So Headliner, I mean, obviously you can kind of customize things. So you can add your own font, your own colors, that kind of stuff. So it's more you. But again, if you're just trying to be as quick and easy as possible, just hyperclick through default and it'll just be up there and you can just kind of set it and forget it. Every time you release a new episode on your host platform, hey, now it's going to be on YouTube too. So now you kind of have that duality of, hey, you have the search and discovery features in actual podcast platforms, but now you're also leveraging it more widely on search and YouTube without really adding a ton of extra work. It's like initially 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of let it roll.
Now, I feel like I have to make this very bad pun, and I acknowledge that it's a bad pun. Throw tomatoes at your screen, whoever's watching this, if you must, but just understand you will have to clean up said tomatoes yourself. Work smartlesser, not hardlesser. So we'll give everyone a second to throw tomatoes at their screen. Anyway, no, it's serious though. Like, yeah, take the extra minute or two to set this up because it sounds small and maybe it is on some level, but it's such a painless and quick thing to do. It literally is set it and forget it. So you may as well do that. The example I always used to give people when I used to do like user onboarding and user training here was captions are helpful because there are people like me that have to take the subway to work, which automatically dates this way too much. But, you know, there are people like me that take the subway to work and hate making eye contact with strangers at the crack of dawn. And I will just sit on my phone, standing on the subway. Okay, I'll stand on the subway with my phone, and I will just read the captions for podcast clips that I'm watching. So Do it for the people like me who hate eye contact with strangers on the subway. We are your number one fans, you know? And like, look, there are some cons to doing this, I'm sure. These more static videos are going to probably get lower engagement than a native one. YouTube itself will likely prioritize more visually dense content, stuff with cameras, transitions, graphics, etc. And on some level, you're covering a base. You're not actively grabbing a new audience necessarily. You're covering the base. It's more about like when you're talking to somebody and they want to check out your podcast, having an easy link. Everyone can open a YouTube link. Android users might not be able to open an Apple Podcast link. Not everybody has Spotify, but everyone has YouTube on their phone. So that's like, for me, that's like the big benefit of putting your show on YouTube. It's everyone uses it, you know?
Or has access to use it.
Yes, can use it if they would like to. That's a good way to put that. Now, onto the fun stuff, the crazy stuff, the not Kokomo stuff, the surfing safari Beach Boys, if you will. I'm just dropping the Beach Boys thing. I'm
sorry. It gets above 65 and you're like, ooh, yes.
Yeah.
Summer.
So this is the maximum effort approach. This is when you're all in on video. And this is what you see from like the big creators, the video first podcasters, or just your native content creators who maybe also have a podcast. And what does this look like? It's a full video recording of your episodes, whether it be a Zoom like this one or a full multicam setup with 3 cameras, a technical director switching it, or just someone doing it in post. These videos are more time consuming because they are obviously professionally edited for YouTube. They have cuts, transitions, graphics, they might have captions, etc. And on the metadata side of things, they might be a bit more involved too. They might have chapters, for instance, which is one of my favorite features on YouTube. It's when you go in the description of your video and you physically time code different subjects. To make a key point of this, I simply ask that Elissa maybe break out my Kokomo reference from earlier and have that be its own chapter. Nick rambles about the Beach Boys for a minute.
I'm sure Eddie will pick it up.
Okay, thank you, Eddie. Edward, if you will.
Edward, yes.
That's what we call him in a professional setting. Anyway,
yes.
Other stuff like thumbnail optimization, which you can do on the lower end side of things, but this is really when you really go in there. You might A/B test your thumbnails, which YouTube lets you do now, stuff like that. And you have custom titles. I mean, all of that in itself kind of speaks for itself, right? It is a lot more time consuming to make. It is a lot more effort, and it is concentrated effort that has to presumably be continued over time. But it has a lot of benefits. We were talking about how native video performs better on YouTube. And this is native video at this point. These podcasts will be more akin to a talk show or a video essay, depending on show format, stuff like that. You might expect better watch time, better engagement. It is more natural to what people watch on YouTube or what people seek out on YouTube. And because it has a video component, you're going to kind of encourage a closer relationship with your subscribers, and you're going to have a stronger brand because of it. You know, they aren't necessarily seeking your content out just for the answer to whatever question brought them there. Thanks to the magic of SEO, they're going to it because they know you on some level. I'm trying to think of like any other cons I may have missed with going in this more intensive thing. It's a little more time consuming. It's obviously harder. Anything else come to mind there, Elissa?
Money.
That is a big one. I've you know, it seems like this concept of money is sticking around. Yeah, it might be more expensive. Who would have thought? Yeah, I mean, look, you got to have cameras or webcams at least, and lighting and
software.
Yeah, everything really. Water so that you stay hydrated while you're on camera.
Let's just add the Wi-Fi bill on. Why don't we?
Exactly. And look, on another level, maybe the personal cost of doing video, which is you have to be on camera. Not everyone likes being on camera. Some people want to jump out of their own skin when they're on camera, not speaking from personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so these are things to consider. It's easy for people who do it on a weekly or biweekly basis to like look at you and tell you, hey, it's super easy. Sit down in front of a camera and talk. But no, it's not that easy. You know, composing yourself for a podcast that's audio only is super easy. You can literally slouch in a chair and just like run your mouth. But when you're on camera, you might want to sit up straight. You might want to make eye contact with the camera, depending on the format. That's something I deal with on this show, where like we have notes that we try to glance at, but I also am looking at nothing right now because I want to look like I'm looking near the camera. So it's a lot of work and it takes time and effort. Now, it's worth it. You know, I think it's worth it. And I do think, you know, there are tools that make it easier. Our friend Edward might have something to say with that. Our friend Eddie by Headliner, you know, makes editing these a bit easier, as does Make. But, you know, it's effort. So to that end, Elissa, I guess like my follow-up question regarding all of this is like, how do you decide?
Yeah, either approach isn't always going to be kind of appropriate for your show. So a lot of it's going to kind of depend on your goals. So if you're doing it, I would personally say more as kind of like a hobby or a passion project. You don't need to go crazy with the YouTube investment. Like you want to do it, you want to grow your audience, awesome. But you might not have the bandwidth to do it because it's not your full-time job. You're doing it, maybe have an hour every week that you can dedicate to your podcast. Awesome. You might not want to spend the majority of that hour trying to optimize your video for YouTube. So really looking kind of at both the bandwidth and then also, of course, your budget for your YouTube channel in addition to your podcast. And then as well, you know, you could kind of think about how your podcast is set up. So again, video might not always make sense for every podcast, especially if you're just, I can do only audio, then you can do only audio. That kind of answers that question for you. But again, just truly thinking about kind of your goals. So if it's more of a passion project, Audiograms, the chill approach is probably going to be perfect for you. Of course, you can kind of start to blend these so you can get a little bit like mildly chill, mildly max, whatever combination you want to take it into, to kind of grow it a little bit more. But then, of course, if you're like, I want to go all in, I've got goals, I really want to make money out of this, monetize my podcast, monetize my channel, making the switch to video more intensely might kind of be the thing for you, especially if you're trying to help grow a business. That's, you know, that might be where it starts to make a little bit more sense as well to make that switch into video.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree with you. And like, look, it is a bandwidth thing. If you can't do a full video podcast, but you have some extra bandwidth from your audio side, maybe it is as simple as like Zoom recording the episodes just in case, and then pulling clips from them for social, you know, doing some YouTube shorts, stuff like that. As long as your content is getting onto YouTube in some way, you're doing more than a lot of other people are. And that counts for something. One thing you could also do if you're on the lower bandwidth side of things is take those Zoom recordings and not necessarily dress them up or edit them too much, right? Just replace the audio with your final mixed and mastered audio, maybe. And if you feel like it isn't, you know, it isn't ready for prime time on YouTube, maybe offering it as like a Patreon bonus to somebody or something. Just being like, hey, you know, we're working on this. This is for the community, kind of like help us make this better. Yeah, I think there's a lot of value in doing that. And look, you can experiment with this stuff. Just because you said I'm going to make a video podcast doesn't mean you are permanently making a video podcast. Give it a shot. Do an episode or two, see how it does. If you feel like you aren't ready or it was too much work, you can go back to just doing your audiograms. Headliner won't get mad at you.
I was going to say, we flip back and forth all the time. We have our automations running, but you know, some days I'm like, I just don't have that extra 5 minutes. So we don't get video up on there. Now, granted, we're going to always get clips from the show for social, but the full video project, making the thumbnail, might not be there.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So it's being flexible, and you know, that flexibility is one of the great things about podcasting. So it's leaning into the strength of the medium a little bit. How about that? Anyway, I think that's all I have for today. Do you have any closing thoughts you want to share with our our lovely listeners, or should we just wrap it up? Go listen to Kokomo.
That'll be our outro this week.
Yeah, we'll just get
no, probably
sued
not.
by whoever owns the rights to that, Sony maybe or something.
We're gonna have like loosely 5 seconds of it and probably be safe.
I'll just put some generic tropical music up right now. Don't worry. Royalty free stuff.
There we go. Even better. But just kind of just some final parting thoughts. Especially if you've had a podcast for a while, you're like, I have 300 episodes, not going back and recording video. Granted, some podcasters do. They're going to do that.
Really?
They're making that full investment. Yeah, there are some people that are doing that.
Wow.
And honestly, more power to you.
Do they label it like Taylor's version when they re-record it?
Oh my gosh, that would be awesome if they did.
Yeah.
But anyways, so you can definitely get your back catalog up on YouTube if you want to. Again, I'll plug Headliner because, I work there and I like Headliner. But Headliner, they have an awesome feature where you can get your back catalog automatically uploaded to YouTube. So you just search for your podcast, say I want it to go to YouTube, and then we'll just kind of post a few videos every day until we're fully caught up. So depending on how long you've had a podcast, it could take some time, but you're getting it up there and your full back catalog will be able to be discoverable more broadly on search. And then, of course, on YouTube. So you can do that and just kind of start small. And then as that process is going, maybe you'll want to do a video episode. You could drop that. You can mix and match. We do it. Lots of other people do it. It really just goes back to kind of that bandwidth. Yeah. And you can always just kind of gradually test it if you're like, maybe I want to do video, but I don't know. Is it worth it? Test it. You can try it. I'm sure you have a computer with a webcam. I'm sure you have a phone with a video. You could just try it. You could try it.
You could literally record it on your phone. I didn't even think about that, Elissa.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Give it a shot. You might like it. Peer pressure, etc. Anyway, thank you to everyone for listening. And yeah, we hope you got something out of this and that you decide to give YouTube a shot if you aren't already, or that you maybe got a good refresher on how to do YouTube if you do, So yeah, bye.